And we should be live now. So I'll just, like I always do, I'll just let it warm up for a couple of seconds, see if people join. Hopefully we get a few people join, otherwise it's a bit embarrassing. But in the meantime, I should be able to jump on the stream and just spam it. So I can see that we are live, which is great. So I'll just start spamming. Hopefully we get a few people jump on. Comments. Leave the comments. I don't think you can see the comments, mate. So basically how it happens is I can see the comments, but you can get around it if you want to open up another tab. Exactly. So you've got it. You're all over it. You can see yourself. And we've got Mikey Blake. Now this is poor form from Mikey because he's a Panzer Ace, so he should be in this chat with us. So we need to make him all feel guilty. And that's your job, Rothgar. You have to make him feel guilty for not coming on.
All right. Okay.
So I'll get you to Yeah, that's it. You're letting the team down. How could you? I'm live with. I'm going to put guest/S just in case other people join. So yeah, I'll get you to introduce yourself in just a moment, but I'll just spam it. We'll just let the chat warm up a little bit. He's watching the cricket. Oh, come on. Well, now we know his priority. I mean, I understand it because I'll do the same, but are you a cricket fan, Rothgar?
No, not really.
And you're an Aussie. You call yourself an Aussie.
No, 2020 I don't mind. But I don't know, my dad always used to watch it, and it was always the long test matches that took like a week. It was just kind of boring.
Yeah, I mean, God, they could have been the longer test matches. I don't know how long it's been since they moved to the 5-day, 7-day, choose a 5-day test matches. Ian's in, he doesn't understand cricket.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking like 40 years ago. So
yeah, there probably was the week-long test matches, or I think they used to play until there was a result as well, which was, I don't know how long. I think that was years ago. But yeah, all right, Rothgar. So take it away, mate. Introduce yourself. I would normally do it, but I think it's better coming from the person themselves because we can get a little bit of understanding of what you're actually into. But just quickly, for those that don't understand, this is a live stream for Panzer Aces. So that's the highest tier within the members club that I've got. And a part of that is we normally do a video once a month. It varies monthly or every 6 weeks or something. But I think we're trying to do monthly. So yeah, take it away, Rothgar. Introduce yourself. Say hello to everyone that's in it.
Hello, everyone who's here. I'm Screen Game Rothgar, but I mean, I started when I was about 13. Someone brought over a copy of Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, and I was hooked. Went with that for years, various other games over the years. Stopped for a while because of family and those sort of commitments and stuff like that. And now I'm just trying to get back into it again and look at doing some bolt action and Flames of War and things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember you said about your Warhammer stuff, and then you moved on to the historical scene. Why was there like a specific reason you moved across, or was it just you like it?
Honestly, I don't like anything that Games Workshop's putting out at the moment. It took me a while to figure out what it was, but a lot of the figures back when I was doing it were sort of hand sculpted, hand carved, and they sort of have a soul to them. And everything seems to just be done on a machine now. And you kind of look at them and you think, there's nothing to them. They're all just kind of carbon copies of each other. There's nothing there. And I think the game's moved on a bit to the way they play the rules and stuff is, I mean, people have got complaints about it here and there, but I kind of just went, yeah, you know what? I'm not interested in that sort of game anymore. I suppose as you get older, you go into the sort of historical games, and before you know it, you're playing Napoleonics and stuff like that.
Yeah. So when I remember growing up in the UK, obviously I was a 92 baby. So, I mean, I'm not too old in terms of knowing Warhammer's history, but I remember the Games Workshop stores, and they were quite regular in terms of how close you were to being able to go to one. I know there was one in Leicester where I grew up, and I used to frequent it quite often for the Lord of the Rings stuff. But when I moved out here, I was actually quite surprised because I think they had a shop in Fremantle, they had one in Perth, and I'm not sure if the one in Joondalup was around then, or if it's only come into existence recently. But I know they've also got one in Inaloo as well. So that's 4 stores within Perth that I'm aware of.
Karen up.
Karen up, that's the one. Yes, yeah. So were they around? Were they always around, or were they?
The gaming stores that we used to go to back in the day was Tactics, Simulations. Tactics is still around now. Simulations is folded. A place called Valhalla, that's also folded. They were all in the CBD. You also had a place called White Dwarf Books, which did gaming stuff as well. They're not there anymore, and I think they probably got forced out by White Dwarf magazine. And you actually had what was it, Games World or whatever it is? They used to do a bit of the gaming stuff as well, but they've gone away from that now. They basically do board games and stuff. But you only had the GW store, the Warhammer store was in Perth, I think, and I remember it was really small. And I don't remember anyone really going there because you could get a better discount 100 meters down the road at 3 other different stores that basically didn't sell them at MSRP.
Yeah, I remember.
It was also a thing back in those days that everything had to be bought in British pounds, brought over to Australia, and then put on the shelf in Australian dollars. So what you would find is 2 different blister packs of the same model at different prices depending on the pound to Australian dollar translation rate when they were purchased by the store.
Yeah, I still find that at Tactics. I went in there recently, and they had 2 box sets. I was looking at the Italieri box sets, and they had 2, and they were different prices. And I'm like, it's like $4 cheaper. Well, I'll grab that one. But yeah, that's funny. I remember going to an event in, I think it was 2008 or something, 7 in Perth, and they were doing a Helm's Deep game at the Perth Warhammer shop. And I remember it being absolutely minuscule. Like there was just like a tiny little room, and that was the shop. And you had like 20 lads in there trying to play Helm's Deep or Minister. I can't remember this Lord of the Rings battle anyway. And yeah, it was very interesting. But I'll go into the comments just quickly. So we've got Ian and Tim's on here, John, Shepherd, Mikey, obviously, Charlie. And they're talking about first edition 40k as well as I was 21 at the time, says John. And Warhammer Fantasy Battle from the first edition as well. I think Warhammer Fantasy, I know they've changed it. There's all these different things. I remember that being quite popular, obviously 40k, but I remember Fantasy being more of the cooler kids in Warhammer would play Fantasy, and the kids off the street would play 40k. And then you'd get just the Lord of the Rings fans when I was growing up. But yeah, I like historical wargaming because it gives you, I feel like the community tends to be a lot more relaxed compared to some of the Warhammer guys that I've gamed with in the past. Not that I've played many Warhammer games.
See, we were looking for sort of gaming clubs, and back in the day when you're sort of a teenager and you go around looking for them, and we had sort of the 40k models and bits and pieces, and you'd go along to some gaming group in Perth, WA, and it would be a bunch of guys in their 60s, 70s, 80s, basically casting their own Napoleonics and ancient miniatures in out of lead shot sort of thing, and they'd do themselves and paint them up, and they'd be all in sort of like these tiny scales and everything. And you kind of went, oh, none of the clubs really cater for any of that. It was only later that we kind of did our own thing and got a bunch of friends together and sort of made a club of our own that you actually get that sort of thing happening. There wasn't much in the way of tournaments, and I never got into tournaments anyway. I had a mate who really got into them, and he was completely insufferable when he did, because it was win, 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 win,
Yeah.
and it just turned me off the whole thing.
Yeah, I completely get that. I don't really go to too many clubs. I'd rather just keep it between friends, and you can understand that if you've got a friend that plays a certain way in terms of they just want to play like historical, so they don't care about winning or losing. They just want to try and recreate a certain battle, or do something like that, which is what I really enjoy. I hate when I do go to tournaments and people are packing something just to win. They're not in it for the fun of it. They're just in to win, and that's their enjoyment out of it. But I don't enjoy that either. But some of the guys are saying in the comment section, Charlie's saying he's never played Warhammer, but painting the minis as a kid, which I think a lot of us did. You'd paint them, and you tend to paint a lot more than you game, at least anyway. What do you look for in wargaming rules now? So I'll throw that one to you, Rothgar, and then I'll answer it afterwards. Is there a specific thing you look for?
I don't know, sort of more of the simplicity. I know with Warhammer now, you're basically rolling this and rolling that and rolling this, and there's half a dozen or so rolls before you even figure out whether something's been removed from the board. I kind of, you know what, let's just get a couple of mates together, play a few quick games, have some fun. It doesn't have to be sort of like super intense and all the rest of it. I just, I do it for entertainment. I don't do it for. That's the kind of rules I'm looking for. I'm not looking for sort of where you hit the vehicle on here and what sort of gun you're using against that, and like very, very hyper technical rules. Simpler the better. I mean, a lot of the times, if you can just roll the dice and say, yeah, that happened, and yeah, it happened, and you win or lose, and you go on to the next game, and you have some fun.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I think I'm a little bit of the opposite. So I've really started getting into Battle Group, which no one really plays in Perth, at least anyway. And that is a bit more like you've got this type of gun, which is like, I don't know, a 76 mil gun or whatever, and you've got the rating for that, and you've got a rating for this, a rating for that. It does get tiresome, but I do like that. So like Chain of Command, I've got their books now, and that's also very much similar in terms of it's a bit more like historical. There's a bit more emphasis on like the historical accuracy, I suppose. I mean, how accurate can you be in a war game? But yeah, I played like Bolt Action, and that felt just a little bit too. I've played a few games of Bolt Action, that felt a little bit too like fast paced for me, where it was a bit like unrealistic. I like the dice in the bag and stuff like that. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, I just found that a little bit too quick for me. And I guess Flames of War is the same. Like I liked version 3 of Flames of War because there was a little bit more uniqueness to it. The characters had different stuff and that, but that turned people off as well because that's like the equivalent of like wizards and stuff in other games where they've got these special abilities and you go, oh, I'm not into all of that. So yeah, I see Oscar's just trying to join us, so I'll buzz Oscar into the room. Or maybe I can ban him. It looks like I can ban him, actually. Here he is. The
Hello.
Vikings joined us.
Hey.
Rothgar was telling me to ban you. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's blame me,
yeah, blame the new guy.
Yeah, you do what you need to do.
Yeah, that's it. So there's no need for introductions for Oscar because everyone knows who Oscar is. He's joined us a few times now, so it's great to have you here, mate. I'll just quickly catch up on the comments and then we'll chew the fat. So Mikey's saying my first game was Lord of the Rings. Played probably 20 games of it in my life. Wow, I used to play the Lord of the Rings games, but it was never the rules. I then played my first proper war game ever where. At a Lardy event in Southampton, 2019, never looked back. So that's Chain of Command then. Tim's put, I live outside Detroit in the United States. Everyone played 40k. Fantasy was rare. Okay, I remember fantasy being very big in Leicester where I grew up. I love historical as well as over... I love historical as well over 40k. 40k just too foggy for me. It's expensive and events, games, competition are too complex for me, which is a pretty much sentiment shared across, I think, most people. John's put, I was lucky there was a wargaming club when I was young, really close to me, and they were really diverse playing all scales and periods from ancients to sci-fi and fantasy. So for me, I didn't even find historical wargaming until I was like just turned like 17 or 18, and it was by pure coincidence. I was on eBay one day and I saw some Flames of War like tanks. I was like, what the hell are those? And that's when I completely stopped. I sold all my Lord of the Rings stuff. I didn't touch a paintbrush. I was out, partying and drinking, and I was more interested in doing all that sort of thing. And then for whatever reason, I was just scrolling eBay and it was an ad, and I was like, whoa. And then I was hooked. Then it was a bolt action. Then I sold all the bolt action stuff. And then it was more Flames of War. And now it's 20 mil. And then that's how it's all started. But yeah, it's crazy. What about yourself, Oscar? How did it all start for you?
I think it started back in like 2009, 2010, something like that. Really, when I was younger, of course I had like the old Warhammer 40K. A friend of mine bought the starter kit with the 2-player box, so we painted up those guys when we were like 14, 15. But really into like wargaming, it was as I said, 2009, 2010, when I moved from the small town that I brought up with. It's only 300 people here, and I moved to Gothenburg, which is Sweden's second largest city. And and I noticed that close to where I was living were a wargaming club. So I just went down there, and they were playing Flames of War, second version 2.
Oh, yeah.
And I always was interested in Second World War. So I was like, yeah, I'm all in.
Yeah, just like the Punics.
Yeah.
And Rothgar, were you like me when I was a young lad? I was collecting like Airfix and Revel and Atalieri figures, or did you skip all of that and go to like your Games Workshop stuff?
I mean, I had other stuff as well. I can't even remember the name of them now. It was like hassle-free miniatures and stuff like that. Used to do sort of the old D&D gaming, and you had models for that. You used to paint up and bits and pieces. I actually had some model playing kits, but they weren't really a big thing over here that I remember. It wasn't. I guess I went to the wrong stores or whatever, and they just weren't there or whatever. They weren't sort of pride of place, and so yeah, we never really got into that. It was also the era when I grew up was also in the teens was basically when the internet first started. So I was also doing a lot of stuff with that as well. So that was my other sort of hobby at the time was old bulletin board systems and working all that sort of stuff out and sort of pre-internet days. So yeah, there was plenty to keep me busy without actually like doing historical models.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Ian's put that every time I think I miss 40K, I realize I miss being younger and having the time to spend a day at the shop and play 3 games in a day, which is spot on. I remember my mum and dad would drive me to the Games Workshop shop, and then that'll be it. I'll be there for the day. I'd have my McDonald's, I'd go and have Macca's for dinner or whatever, and I'll just be there for the day painting and gaming and pissing off the people that work there for not leaving. But yeah, that is such a true statement. Was there a lot of Warhammer shops where you grew up, Oscar, or Games Workshop shops?
No. I think like pure Games Workshop shops in Sweden now, I think is like 5.
Okay, something so it's like not as big. Yeah. It's not as popular then, would you say? Or is it just because obviously it's not as much demand for it?
Well, when I grew up, it wasn't like nowadays. Games Workshop tends to not have resellers. They tend to have their own shops, and just it's only them who are allowed to sell their stuff. When I grew up, it was quite the opposite. You could get like Warhammer in the normal toy shops.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. I remember going on a trip to France, and I think they had just a normal toy shop that we went into, and they had like Warhammer stuff. I think I got some Lord of the Rings miniatures from their one school trip. But looking in the comment section, Charlie's put the good thing is Star Wars Legion, less complex like historicals, but interesting aspects of paintings, war game itself, diversity as well. I haven't played Star Wars Legion. I've seen some of the stuff that looks pretty cool. What about you guys?
I
Rothgar,
got a shelf of it up here. Like there's
and
literally stuff behind me.
Oh, so you're a fan of it, then I take it.
Yeah, I've got bits and pieces behind me. It's various bits.
And do you agree with Charlie's statement?
I don't know about now because apparently they've just changed the rules, and I haven't actually seen the new rules. So yeah, with the old rules, yes. With the new rules, I have no idea how different it is. I honestly just don't know at the moment.
Okay. And Oscar, I'll ask the same to you, but I can also see you've got an 8080 or something behind you right now. So I'm assuming you're a bit of a fan of Star Wars as well.
Yeah, that's the small one. I can do like this, and we will see the. It doesn't show well on the camera, but I have a big Lego
I can
one.
see the shadow. Yeah, I can see the shadow.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you're a fan of the Stormtroopers. Then you'd go the evil side if you were to play Star Wars Legion.
Well, when you look at the Star Wars world, there are the good guys and the terrorists. So there are only one good side.
Right. What about you, Rothgar? What do you favor? It's like, I'll throw it back. Most World War II gamers, I think, find themselves playing the Germans purely because of the cool equipment that they get. The cool tanks, the cool weapons, everything else. Doesn't mean that you support the Germans and what they did. You just find that part of history very interesting or cool.
I mean, with the Star Wars sets, when I got it, when it first came out, you kind of bought the box sets, and it was either the older one, which was Empire and Republic, and then the newer one, which was from the newer movies. So it was Separatists and I can't remember the name of them, Galactic Empire, whatever it is. So I went for the older one because that was the one I knew. So I've got some Imperial stuff. I've got some Rebel stuff. I've got some mercenary stuff as well. So because you can mix them in with other forces. Yeah, and I mean with bolt action and stuff like that, I ended up going British Commandos and British Airborne. But you're right about the tanks. Like I don't own, or I didn't own any Sherman tanks. I just kind of find them boring. They've all got like slight differences amongst them. But then when you look at the German tanks or the Italian tanks or something, or even British tanks, there's vast differences in the appearance and style, and that's you can kind of lay down a field of oddball looking stuff.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I've just realized as well, whilst we're talking about this, the comments section, we've got a few comments. I'm going to rattle them off. Sorry, lads. Yep. Scott said, I remember as a kid, and welcome, Scott, my good Canadian friend. I remember as a kid for my birthday and Christmas, I would get boxes of Airfix and Matchbox soldiers, although I was never painting in those days. And that was the same for me. Also, I said Canadian. He's an Aussie living in Canada. So apologies if I've upset you there, mate. But I remember doing that very same thing as well. And you would use anything you could find in your house to fight with them. John's put, I'm nearly 60. I started playing hyper-realistic wargaming with writing orders for each unit, and now I like similar games. Yeah, okay. That might be a little bit too crazy for me, but I don't think my brain can comprehend that sort of level of gaming. Wichita just got his first official Warhammer store a few years ago, and they just had to fire the guy who ran it for stealing. Oh, dear. How do you steal from... I suppose you don't own the store. You're just stealing from the franchise, I take it. Charlie's put, question about airbrushing. I'm starting with my first airbrush, painting acrylics indoors. What are your top 5 essentials, i.e. needle sizes, respirators, cleaning tools, paint brands, etc.? Oscar, do you do much airbrushing?
Only for... what's the name? First coat. So like
base coat.
Yeah.
What about you, Rothgar? Are you much into airbrushing?
I've got a cheap $20 airbrush I bought from China, and I just prime things. And I always found that it was hit and miss. I can sit down and paint for 8 hours and just prime 100 models, and then the next day, even after you've cleaned the airbrush out, you spend 8 hours trying to get it to work. So it's probably something to do with the quality as well. But I've never really got into the airbrushing thing.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so Charlie, I'll give it a very quick breakdown. For me, the paints are very essential. So I use Tamiya acrylic paints. I find they're the best to airbrush with, personally, as long as you thin them down with their thinners. So you make sure you're using the same acrylic thinners from Tamiya. The needle size that I would recommend for anyone starting out airbrushing historical wargaming figures under 28 mil or 28 mil and 28 mil under is probably a 0.35 millimeter needle or a 0.20 needle. If you want an entry-level airbrush, the Iwato Neo CN is probably what I'd recommend. Respirators, I don't airbrush indoors. I airbrush in my garage, so I leave my garage open, so you don't need a respirator because the fumes are just going to be blown away. Cleaning tools, I use kitchen towel, and that's pretty much it. You can invest in those special tools that go in and scrub out all of the dirt and paint and stuff, but I just use kitchen towel, and I have never had a problem with that. And I've got 4 airbrushes now, and I don't have any problems with them. Cleaning tools, use your thinners from the company that you're using the paints from. So for when I use my Tamiya paint, I will then clean my airbrush with their thinners. And then to finish that off, I will use Mr. Hobby. I can't remember the actual name of the thinners of the cleaning agent, but it's paint stripper. It will give you a headache if you try and inhale it. So it's really good if you want to get a nice little high like that. I wouldn't recommend it though. And yeah, the paint brands is Tamiya is definitely what I would recommend. Sure. So I can see you've got some cleaning from Mig. Yes, you could use something like that. You just got to be very careful with what you're using, because if you've got an older airbrush, they use a different type of O-rings and they will just disintegrate with a paint stripper or the Mr. Hobby stuff that I use. So yeah, just be careful. But I've never had any problems with my airbrushing. When I first started, obviously I had problems, but now I very rarely have problems. A lot of the time, as long as you've given it a good clean. And the cleaning process for me probably takes about 10 minutes from once I finish. I've never deep cleaned my airbrush ever, and I've done a lot of airbrushing. So everyone's different, I suppose. Sorry, that was a very long-winded answer. Charlie's put, in France, we get 100 of 40k shops or so, but there's barely a soul and prices are like in Switzerland or Sweden. John's put, I have a big WizKids 8080 or ATA. Yeah, it's 8080. I don't know how you pronounce that. You guys, the Star Wars lovers, how would you pronounce that?
We say ATAT.
Yeah,
ATAT?
that's what I've heard it as well. So
okay, there you go. No, I'll take it off you. So ATAT it is. Charlie's put, buying German legions, Hansa, French, Spanish volunteers are more risky than buying a regular SS. It's always been a mystery for me, and it's not just about cool equipment and colourful patches and gear. I suppose I guess that would be, I don't know. I mean, where do you draw the line when you go, it's been we're coming up to 80 years since the event now. Pretty much all the veterans now and people that have lived through that period have gone or are very close to leaving us, sadly. Where do you draw the line where you start getting funny because people are portraying certain regiments and stuff in a war game? You can't stop people from playing the Romans, even though they, were barbarians at some point, as well as the actual barbarians themselves and the Carthaginians and Napoleonic periods and blah, blah, blah. So, here's what it is.
It's kind of like, at what point do you think it's a good idea to make a movie about that? And from what we've seen, it was pretty much straight away.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of like, well, yeah, you can play a war game of it, but people made movies pretty much the day after the war ended.
Yeah,
the war. So, there is sensibilities and stuff like that, and sort of PTSD that survivors have of that sort of thing, which you've got to be respectful towards. But I mean, people have been doing World War II stuff since the day after World War II ended. So
exactly. So, what about you, Oscar? This is a good one. Would you be would you have any objections for playing a war game from a current war? So say with the Afghanistan conflict, say if it was still going and the NATO are in there, would you have any problem playing a war game for that?
Not really.
No.
Because
So
you can make the same argument when it comes to video games. Look at the new
Yes.
Call of Duty games or Black. It's about today's war that we are fighting all over the world today. And since the humans we have waged war since we crawled out of the caves, and we will still do it until the day that this world doesn't exist anymore. Where do you draw it? You can't draw the line like that.
No.
In my opinion.
There was a YouTuber that said he didn't like historical wargaming because of, you're portraying evil
I know that.
Nations and stuff like that. I just remember watching at the time thinking, like, it's just ridiculous, right? That's the way, everyone's entitled to their opinion. It just seemed a little bit like you're not really understanding. People aren't playing the Germans and walking around with a swastika and being like, I love what they did and I support what they... Maybe some people are, I don't know. But like when I play the Germans, I'm not playing them because I have love for them. I'm playing them because I find that period of history interesting. But my grandparents fought against them. I'm not in no way supporting them, My proceeds aren't going towards... their relatives or something like that.
My grandfather was in the Dutch resistance.
Yeah, and as I said, if you draw the line, like you can't interact with people that can see a certain historical event in different ways. You and me, Chris, or you and me, Rothgar, we can't even speak since, as I've told many times, my father fought for the Germans. My grandfather fought for the Germans.
My grandfather fought for the Germans as well. My grandmother was collected from Holland at the beginning of the war, shipped into Germany, and when she returned from the factories, she had a child, which she promptly put up for adoption because having a half German child at that point was not seen, not done. Single mother with a half German baby, no. So
right,
that's kind of the thing you're looking at. I have a grandfather who's probably German, and that's it.
Right, that's it. I've got to ban 2 people today now. Two German ancestors. All right, so as you said, sorry, we've missed quite a few. Oh God. Ian's put, he was dipping in the till, so that's in reference to the guy that had the Warhammer shop that's now been fired. And I'm assuming probably
he's talking about manager.
Yes. Patrick's put, hi guys, another Panzer Ace that's not in the stream. That's just not good enough, mate. Come on, you need to jump in. Scott's put, I do a lot of airbrushing, lots in fact. 90% of my work is airbrush, all scales. The key is the thinner used. My key is use the thinner made by the company for their paint. I have Sotar 2020, I think is how you pronounce it. Been using the same one for 12 years, and he's saying you both are correct with the 8080. Sorry, AT. God, see, I've got it wrong. You literally told me 5 minutes ago. That's how bad my brain is. A drop of glycerine, I think is how you pronounce it, into the airbrush when changing lubricant. When changing lubricates triggers. It's history. You can't change history no matter what, says Scott. Ian's put, some dude on Facebook was going off about warlords knew Russians because of the ongoing conflicts. Some people draw the line in weird places. That is a really weird line to draw. Depends on what. If it's historical Russian, says Charlie, well, USSR collapsed, so whatsoever. But making new era Russians is really questionable, but it's only my view. Maybe I'm overreacting. I think that's a fair sentiment. Like it's easy for me. I'm not like a Russian or a Ukrainian or whatever conflict's going on. So obviously you're going to have a different opinion of it. You might be like, I don't want that or whatever. But if I was to walk into a shop and somebody was going, oh, we're doing the Ukrainian-Russian conflict in a 20 mil wargaming thing, I'd just be like, cool. Can I see check out your miniatures and see what you're doing?
Yeah, I actually just thought about a conflict that I wouldn't feel okay buying a war games miniature from. and it's the
Okay.
Israel-Palestine.
Yes, okay, I can understand that.
Game
Yeah,
about that, with like rules for suicide bombing and rockets firing, I wouldn't buy that. That's where I draw my line, at least.
yeah, exactly. And I think everyone's got to have their own line. Like that would be a pretty unusual war game if it involved like suicide bombing and that sort of conflict is very like I don't know. Actually, that's just a very good point. I don't know how I'd feel about it. Again, I don't know if I'd be more like interested, like what's it about. I wouldn't be buying it because like that sort of thing wouldn't interest me anyway. I'm not into modern conflicts, but if I walked past somebody gaming that sort of thing, I don't know if I would be like, oh no, that's not good, or if I'd just be like, oh, it's a bit tasty, but I'll check it out anyway because Israel and stuff have some pretty cool looking tanks, I suppose. But yeah, it's interesting one. That's a very good one. What about you, Rothgar? Where do you stand on that? That's a really good
I think anything that's kind of current is probably off the table if it's happening right now. It's probably a bit in bad taste to basically start doing that. And as a war game, like historical, as you said, like you could set up a historical scenario, etc., etc. But a lot of in order to play it between two players, both people have to have a chance of winning. You know what I mean? So you have to make it balanced. If you've got, this side's got high-tech weaponry with a few tanks and stuff, and the other side's got hundreds of models, poorly armed and poorly trained or something. It's kind of like, well, you know what I mean? And that could be most modern conflicts, but against sort of rogue states or whatever. You know what I mean? Not specifically
and I guess
that
yeah. And I guess the name is I guess the key is in the name. It's historical wargaming. So you're painting historical battles. So you're not painting current conflicts, you're painting historical, battles. So
it's entirely possible that our grandkids could sit there and be like playing a war game based on that. And you could sit there and say, oh, hang on, that seems a bit, I wouldn't have done that because at the time that was actually happening. You know what I mean? Which is kind of the way. Like I'm the grandchild of somebody who fought in World War II. So
yeah, exactly. I could never imagine like my great grandfather being like, oh yeah, I'll just play the Brits against the Japanese because he despised the Japanese. There's no way he would be even receptive to the idea. But I think of it like, well, I don't see what the problem is now. And I think that's a very valid point. So the name, as we said, so historical wargaming would suggest that let's just keep it to historical events, not current world issues.
I mean, there's people my father's age who fought in the Vietnam War, and we've got war games about that now. So
yeah, definitely. That was a really good one to bring up, Oscar. I think we've got some people commenting as well, so we'll see what's being said. I don't think also we building SS to glorify these people, so I don't see problem in this community. It's about just gaming where we don't dive into ideas of our miniatures so deep. And then Patches put, sorry, he was eating. I think we need to sort him out. I will send the Viking. The Viking will sort him out. He lives relatively close anyway, in Switzerland. He's now looking on his cell phone at our stream. Charlie's put, Oscar, agree. Yeah, it's not event for games, and I don't know who could enjoy this theme. Israel, Arab wars before 1980 are okay for me. It's like usual as other wars, but now wars are really questionable. Yeah, I've never understood how you play like a Afghanistan, because I've not got any rule books for like an Afghanistan conflict, but like you said, they were very like they weren't like your traditional conflicts, right? You've not got tanks on both sides running around fighting each other, and you've got small skirmishes happening, ambushes by insurgents, and like you said, suicide bombers and stuff like that. So I don't even know how you'd war game that. I suppose it would have to be a very small sort of skirmish. But I suppose, would you put that Afghanistan conflict into a historical wargaming category now? Because as far as NATO is concerned, that conflict is pretty much over with because they've packed up and left. I mean, I'm sure there's still a little bit going on behind the scenes, but would you classify that as historical now, or would you say there's got to be like a time limit, like 10 years or 20 years before you go, all right, now it's not in bad taste?
That's a good question. It's a really good question. Because I still think, well, talking from my perspective, I still think there are current conflicts that I would not have a problem with playing as a war game, and I don't really know why. So say like the civil war in Congo, for example. I don't think I would have a problem with playing a game based on that one. Or
is that because yeah, maybe because we don't hear about it as much in like in the Western world? Is that why, or is it?
Yeah, it could be.
What about you, Roth guys? Do you reckon there's a time limit, or is there?
I
Would
think
that be
it's
in
a
the
personal
category?
preference and your personal sort of beliefs on the whole thing, and yeah, I mean, as I said, like we've got people my father's age who fought in Vietnam, and now we're playing Vietnam games, kind of thing. It's that kind of thing. It's how far you are removed from it personally. So someone of an older generation might sort of say, well, hang on, I don't like that because I was involved or I was around when that was happening. Whereas a younger person might sit there, well, yeah, mate, it's been 20, 30 years, get over it, kind of thing. So it really depends on a lot of personal preference. Like, as Oscar said, like, certain wars you would say, oh yeah, we could do that or whatever, but then other ones you sort of say, well, no, I'm not interested in that. That's in bad taste for me personally. So,
because I wonder how it stands with veterans as well. That have, say you've got an Afghanistan veteran that's come back, you know, and maybe he's got PTSD or whatever, or she, and I wonder if they look at the wargaming thing and go, you know what? If you want a war game, just go join the army and you can do it for real. Or do they go, actually, they use it as a way of helping themselves out? I'd love to know if there is any veterans in the channel that have, you know, obviously war game current conflicts, and I'd be very interested to know because it's I have seen it help people, but I know it's more like Warhammer, so it's like not related to a current conflict. It's more like the fantasy. You're getting away from what you're doing for a day job. I suppose if I had to paint what I was doing for a day job, I pretty much hate it. So, yeah, it's interesting. I better get back into these comment section. Anyway, that was a really interesting chat. I'll leave it there because I don't want to upset anyone else that might be listening to the chat, might be taking what we're saying out of context. But yeah, I found that very interesting. And I better hide my modern British from the Afghan war that I painted because I don't want to get into any trouble. I got sent them as a free sample, all right? I was just painting them for this free sample. So Tim's put, he should go off on Warlord's new service because of the giant hands and octopus arms. I haven't seen the new Soviets yet. But I'd be interested to see what this look like. John's put, I have Empress miniatures, modern Russians, Ukrainians, and Chechens, and most other countries, Britain, USA, and a few BTR-80, I mean. Scott's put, I leave the modern current conflicts to the professional war gamers and militaries. I game for fun. Honestly, not going to game something that I wouldn't enjoy, which is a very fair statement. He's put, my brother served in Nam as well. Yeah, I'll war game it. He doesn't mind it, to be honest, and appreciates my painting. Mind you, is a model plane builder. Yeah, you can't. I don't think model plane builders really like wargaming and vice versa. Actually, no, that's not true. John's put, I have 28mm Congo and made Mike Horde Mercenaries by Britannia Miniatures. As well, Charlie's ancestors fought in Vietnam at the time, French Indochina War, but now we are painting planes figures at times. I think it's interesting to take to seek over fence. Current conflict isn't popular now. Sorry, if I was just reading it off there. Yeah, okay, so let's bring this around to something else. What's your favorite historical conflict to paint? Starting with Oscar. All right, I have a feeling I already know the answer to this one.
I don't really think I have to answer that one right.
Just answer it in case there's people that are watching this that don't know who you are or haven't
of course,
you.
of course. I am like a ancient nut, so like Romans versus Carthaginians at the moment, and I was thinking about getting me the new, semi-new goal set from Warlord Games Epic Range also, since I have the all-in from the first wave.
And do you fancy the 28mm stuff that they do, or are you just sticking with the smaller scale because you like the epicness of the smaller stuff?
Well, I have some of Victrix 28mm Romans.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
but
nice.
Yeah, they are really, really nice. But the thing is, I like it. That's one of the things that got my attention when it comes to Flames of War, like building massive armies.
Yeah, that was the same for me. That was what hooked me.
Yeah. So I really like the idea of putting like thousands of warriors on the field at the same time. But yeah, I still appreciate some skirmish games when like you have like 5-10 models, 28mm to play with. It's also fun, but I tend to move more towards the big scale battles.
And is there a historical period that you don't have miniatures for that you've really wanted to do though, or like paint?
Yeah, I tend, like, the older I get, the more historical I get. But I've listened to some podcasts and I watched some documentaries, and now I am really, really starting to get interested more in Vietnam, even though Sweden has nothing to do with that. And also was it 61, 62 when the UN was in Congo, because we had a lot of Swedish there.
Okay, that's one. That is an unusual one. And Rothgar and I were saying before you joined, I think Rothgar said it actually, but I'm going to agree with it. I think the older you get, the more closer to Napoleonics you get. So it seems to be the older you get, you move away from World War II and you start going to muskets and cavalry and artillery and stuff like that. So what about you then, Rothgar? What's your favorite historical period, and then what's one that you haven't got miniatures for that you'd be really interested in doing?
Haven't got miniatures for. I mean, some sort of ancients or something like that. I wouldn't mind having a go at some point. Stuff that I've got at the moment. I mean, as I said, I bought the bolt action sort of British Airborne and British Commandos. The Commandos are fun to paint. I'm trying to get through them at the moment. I'm dreading all the Denison smocks on the Airborne. That's why I've kind of left them to later. I mean, there's a game called Turnip 28. You basically can kit bash some models or do some 3D prints for it. They're great to knock up, and it's sort of Napoleonic era. So I ended up buying some of the epic scale Napoleonic Peninsula troops, and I've painted some up there. They're quite fun. So I might continue with that and go more, with the epic scale Napoleonics at some point. But yeah, I mean, most of the stuff is pretty fun to paint. If you sit down and you sort of say, well, look, I don't like painting this sort of camo or this sort of thing, then if it doesn't appeal to you, well, you kind of put it to one side, get rid of it, or whatever. Never buy it in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. So the Ancients, I think Ancients is popular. So I'm obviously, people know what my primary thing is because that's what the channel is pretty much based on. That's definitely my favorite. But I'll say I have painted 4 miniatures for it, but the Crusade, the Third Crusade, I think would make for a fantastic war game for both sides. I really want to paint like Saladin's Muslims as well as the Christians. I think it's just such a fascinating period, such a brutal period as well. So that's something I'd love to do. But I do also find myself going, I'm not committed to anything yet, but I am getting closer and closer to Napoleonics. I feel like I'm getting that urge to want to paint some. But yeah, I'm not there yet. So I'll stick with the Crusade. I definitely want to do that. Hopefully I'm not old enough for Napoleonics yet. I'm not touring Waterloo or anything like that just yet. When it comes to Napoleonic, they, in my opinion, have one of the most fascinating characters. Almost one of my favorite historical characters
during that time, and it's Michel Ney.
I don't know who that is because I don't know anything about it. I just like the uniform. I know who Napoleon is, I suppose, but that's
he was one of like Napoleon's closest men. But he was completely nuts. My favorite tale about him is when they were retreating from Russia, and I think he had like 400, 600 men, something like that, and he was surrounded by an army of 40,000 Russians. And when the Russians came to negotiate the a surrender, he said, "A marshal of France never surrenders. You are now my prisoners. I want you to turn yourselves in or move away." And of course, they just laughed at him. And then he ordered the charge, and the Russians fled.
Bloody hell! Yeah,
it was awesome.
History makes some fantastic characters. There's just, I mean, yeah, just some absolute fantastic characters that somehow managed to pull off some amazing achievements with just being completely nuts. Which sounds like that guy definitely was. So Ian's put the Indochina War is fascinating. Charlie's put Indochina War. I have deep appreciation for our vets who are now forgotten, and conflict is very interesting in war games. Don't forget the weird mix of equipment used by both sides in relation to the Indochina War makes for very interesting figures. Because, yeah, I suppose you've got the French and then you've got the Vietnamese being supplied by the Warsaw Pact. So you're going to be having some very interesting equipment coming through there. Viets with Soviet stuff and our troops with US gear fighting during Korean War. It's definitely doomed to be one of the forgotten wars. John's put, I don't know how factual it is. The reason the Ukrainian flag is blue and yellow is the original settlers in that area, Swedish Vikings, the Russians, I think. I'm not sure. I have no idea about that one. Do you guys know anything about that statement?
Yeah, I guess since I'm from Sweden, I know that in Swedish, Russia is Ryssland, which means the land of the Rus. Because I know that many of the cities in both Russia and Ukraine was founded by Swedish Vikings. Because because in Viking time, the Norwegians and the Danes, they went west to like France, England, USA, Iceland, Greenland, and the Swedish Vikings went east, so into Russia, down to Constantinople and down there. But as far as I know, the Ukrainian flag is supposed to symbol the blue sky over wheat fields.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah, because I think we were saying before, the Swedes were made up part of the Varangian Guard as well, right? For the Byzantine Empire. That's crazy that they even got that far down. That's really cool. Scott's put Saga and Baron's War are good intro to the Crusade medieval period. Small skirmish, so not a lot of pain to get figures on the table. I am very tempted by that, but I'm talking. I want small scale, like 15 mil, like the epic style medieval game. I think if you're going to pay medieval, you want a big army, but then it's lots and lots of time. You want a big army so you can maneuver around and do all sorts of stuff. When you're doing little small skirmishes, it doesn't. I don't know if it would feel right. When you're thinking like one of those ancient armies or a medieval army, you want to see like thousands of models charging at each other. Is my opinion on that one. And obviously, I know Oscar agrees with me because he's painting like 12,000 of them at the minute. Charlie's put, General N was nuts. That's crazy. He was always loyal to Napoleon, even after being bribed by King Louis after 1814. Scott's put the Oscar would make a figure of Net in that battle holding a rifle dressed for winter. So there you go, Oscar. That might be good for you. And John has put, yes, I've heard the sky and wheat fields as well. So that's some reference to the Ukrainian flag. So, yeah, that's an interesting take. So is there a specific battle in the Napoleonic era that you guys could see yourself painting or wanting
Austerlitz.
to look at?
Yeah,
Okay.
Austerlitz for me.
Yeah, and what about yourself, Rofgar?
Honestly, I've just glanced over it at a point, like looked at the whole thing. I haven't really decided on anything at this point. I mean, I'm only just sort of grabbing a few models here and there, and it's not really a whole sort of big thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm the same. Yeah.
It's at one point I might sit there and say, "Oh wow, actually, yeah, this is what I want to recreate or do a game of." But at the moment, it's whatever. I'd like actually to play a game of it before I actually go fully into it.
Test it before you try it before you buy it. What about you, Oscar? Have you got the epic Napoleonist stuff from Warlord, or have you shied away from that one?
No, not yet. I think I need to finish my project that I have right now before I move on to next project. But if you saw, last time we talked about war movies. If you saw the Napoleon movie, I believe it's supposed to be Austerlitz when the Prussians ride over the ice and they shoot, they destroy the ice, so the Prussians fall through it. I think that's supposed to be Austerlitz.
Yeah, I haven't watched it. I was planning to watch it, and then I just saw the terrible reviews people were giving it, and I just thought, there's just Hollywood gone mad by the sounds of things.
If you want to see a cool movie and just forget about historical accuracy, it's a great movie. But don't use it as like any kind of reference to what actually happened.
And that's what first. I'm going to use SAS Rogue Heroes. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that yet. And I was watching it, like, I don't mind it, but I really hate the character portrayals. They make some of them look absolutely loopy, and you're thinking, and you're doing it to appease a certain audience, but I just hate when they portray people incorrectly. And I heard that was the case for Napoleon in that movie as well. It was made out to be not quite right. I don't know though, because I've never read anything. But when like certain movies portray like Churchill a certain way, and Hitler a certain way and stuff.
In my opinion, since I saw the Napoleon movie with the kids because they really, really wanted to see it, they do absolutely nothing to push on how much of a military genius he was in real life.
He was supposed to be incredibly charismatic as well. I mean, that was the whole thing he got put away and sent to an island, and then he charmed the guards, and they all just let him go. They sent an army to stop him. He charmed them, and then he joined them, and then you had the whole Waterloo battle. So, I mean, he was hugely charismatic. He was a great general and everything. So I haven't seen the movie, but yeah, I mean, there is portrayals of him sort of being, sort of petulant or, that sort of thing. So I guess that's sort of from the other side, the English side, making them of sort of saying, well, if we make him out to be a bit of a joke kind of thing.
It's like Richard III, because Shakespeare made him look like Quasimodo and stuff like that. Everyone's assumption is he's just this like scrawny little bloke that had this back problem that wasn't a good king. But then when you actually see that he was, constantly in the thick of the fighting, he was a good warrior, regardless if he was a good king or not, you just think, and history can make some characters, not history, sorry, Hollywood and certain people, and Shakespeare in this case, but I'm just using this as a bad example, can make certain characters look incredibly bad. And it just frustrates me because 75% of the people that are going to go and watch that movie are going to walk away and go, so that's what Napoleon was like, or that's what King Richard III was like, or whatever, without doing any research. And it constantly happens. Even when I speak to my parents, they'll tell me, Paddy Mayne, God, wasn't he such an arsehole to his men and blah, blah, blah. And you go, No, he wasn't. It's just the way BBC Rogue Heroes is showing you what they want you to see, that he's just this crazy drunk Irishman. Not that he was really good at sport. He was a fantastic team player and everything else. So it's just one of those things. But I suppose it's just good that there's anything on these particular topics, because I don't think Hollywood really do too much war stuff anymore.
I mean, as a movie, I can't remember the exact name. It's Malbat or something. It's it's a Malaysian movie about the Condor APC drivers who actually went into the Battle of Somalia to retrieve the downed Black Hawk pilots.
Ah, okay.
And it's actually supposed to be. They say it's dramatized for visual effects, etc., etc. And honestly, some of the special effects are sort of the asylum level stuff and things like that. But it's supposed to be a more accurate story than the Black Hawk Down movie, because the Black Hawk Down movie basically erased them completely from the story. And they were recognized immediately after the fact by the American generals, etc., and then promptly forgotten about for decades. And then, of course, they came out with Black Hawk Down, and they said, well, where are we in this movie? So they made their own.
That's crazy. It's even like Band of Brothers. I think, was it episode 3 or 2, where they say, it must be 3, where they say Blythe dies in like, what they, they show this character that is like really nervous and he's scared. And then he dies from a wound inflicted, on like D-Day +20 or whatever it was. And then you read him, he's got like these, he fought in Korea and he did all this other stuff. He fought throughout the war. And you're going, how the hell do they make such a poor mistake? And again, you see it on Facebook all the time. Blythe died in 1952 or something, or whatever it was. And
I thought it was the 60s or something, but I can't quite remember. But
I know he died young. Yeah, I know he died young, but they made it out to be like he was bedridden, he wasn't fine. And you read his actual battlefield or what he went on to do, and he fought in Korea, and he actually rose the ranks really well. He was meant to be a really good warrior as well. It's just interesting how all these companies can get it so wrong when they get some other things so right. Sorry, I'm going to go back to the comment section because we are just coming past time. It's me rambling on. It's not you guys. So Scott's correcting me. It's nay, not net. There we go. Sorry about that one, mate. Ben's put late joiner. Hello, guys. Hey, Ben. Thanks for joining. Oscar was a late joiner too. So you've joined his club. I'm not going to let him live it down now. Also, Oscar got any socials? Would be really interested to see the results. Yeah, Oscar posts on the Painting Panzers page sometimes, but you're mainly on Discord these days, aren't you?
Yeah, I have both like Facebook and Instagram, but I don't post there. I just use it to lurk and watch other people do stuff.
Yeah,
so,
we'll have to.
It's mostly on Discord.
Yeah, well, you might have to start putting it on the Painting Panzers supporters page so Charlie can see. He's done some great epic stuff. It makes my stuff look shit, for me being honest, but you've done some great stuff. Scott's put the Peninsula campaign is a good campaign set. Early uniforms were awesome and lots of countries involved. Then in North Europe, the battles of Wagram, I'm not even going to pronounce those, Ostritz and Jena. That's probably all right. I see Oscar smiling. He's like, this guy is useless. Charlie's put story about charm is true, but it's also filled with corruption and anti-charm of king who was stealing from army and not trust into Napoleonic old guard. And John's put apparently Richard III did look like he was a hunchback, but he trained his right side excessively, so it was extreme muscles on the right side and normal on the left. I'm sure I read somewhere that he had an issue, but it wasn't like a lump or anything. He just had an issue with one side of his body, but I could be completely mistaken. I'm sure they did something on when they found his body as well to check to see how bent his spine was or something.
Back in those days, they didn't really have any sort of treatment for any sort of scoliosis or anything. So if you had a mild case of that, people can sort of exaggerate it, make fun of it.
The guy was a warrior, though. I mean, when he I mean, the way he died is just insane, and the fact he was always at the front. Well, not always, but he was willing to fight and die, and he obviously did. But yeah, so do you guys have anything else you want to add to the stream, or does anyone want to say anything or talk about anything before we end it here?
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, lads. Sorry, I should say who to go first.
I was actually going to say, I thought Oscar was going to come back with a number for us.
Yeah, I have it here. It's all the numbers.
Yes, the number. Before you do it.
Yep.
Shall we ask? Do you want to ask the comments, the guys in the video, what they think in terms of total number?
Yeah, of course we do that. So I've actually done an inventory on all my epic Romans and Carthaginian stuff, and I've counted what I haven't painted yet, what I have left to paint, and I've counted horses, spears, number of soldiers, number of shields, and number of swords. So just as I said many times, I went nuts with the release. I got like the all-in stuff, everything they released. I got it. So just put out a number of. Should we do just number of soldiers I have left to paint?
Yeah, number of soldiers. But do you know how many you've painted though?
Oh, I haven't looked at that one. Sorry.
Okay, well it's a lot anyway. I've seen it.
Yeah, say I have painted like maybe somewhere between 200 and 300 so far.
Yeah, okay.
I suppose it depends on whether you're sort of like closer to the beginning or closer to the end.
Well, Rothgar, do you know the number? Because I do.
I don't.
To that information.
Are we talking like individual figures of men or strips? Because I think some of them come as
individual figures, right?
Yeah, individual figures. Like say the strips of Romans, I have counted every. They are like take the strips of like the Libyan heavies. There are 10 men on one strip, and I've counted every man as one soldier.
Yeah, that's what I was. Because I know the epic stuff for the Napoleonic stuff is a bit like that as well. It's like 10 per row. I don't know. I'll go for a nice round 2,000. Let's try that. 2,000.
All right, Oscar, give us the grand reveal.
Yeah, when it comes to total soldiers, this is on both sides. So both Romans and Carthaginians.
Hang on. Does Rothgar want to change his... Now we know that information?
Honestly, I don't know what was involved in that set. I have no idea. Okay. I'm just going to go for about 2,000, and we'll go with that.
Yeah, when it comes to total soldiers, I still have to paint 8,713 individual soldiers.
He's crazy, isn't he? I told you.
That's just the soldiers?
Yeah, that's just the soldiers. I have all the elephants are done. But yeah, as I said, like cavalry, I've counted every cavalry as one soldier. So I have like 560 horses. I have 7,800 spears. I have 8,700 soldiers, 5,200 shields, 1,000 swords to paint still.
You're a madman. But I tell you what, you're going to be lost when you've painted it all. You're going to know what to do with yourself.
Yeah, I think that also. and as I said, I was actually like 2 weeks ago looking to get me all the starter set for the goals also.
Oh, yeah. So just add a few more to it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be a time when the Julius Caesar period will come out as well. So you'll have different types of Romans to paint up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That would be nice.
All right, guys. We're going to end the stream here. We're a few minutes over. That's all right. We've had a bit of fun today. Thanks again to Rothgar and Oscar for joining. We try and do this monthly Panzer Ace stream just to chew the fat and, get a bit more insight so you don't have to hear me talking away for an hour. But yeah, I really enjoyed having you guys on here. I really appreciate you jumping in. And hopefully we'll see you back on in a month's time. But thanks to everyone else for joining. Yes, thanks.
No, you won't see me in a month. I'll be in China for a couple of weeks.
Oh, look at him showing off. I'll just be in China on holiday. God,
no,
some
it's not
people.
holiday. It's to see family. So.
Oh, okay. All right, take that back. Sometimes, yeah, I understand that. But still, you need to take your phone with you and join us on this stream and
You
show
can't
us.
use YouTube.
Oh no, VPN it, right? Can you use a VPN? But no, obviously, I
Yeah,
wouldn't make
I
anyone
mean,
do that.
yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's
have a very great trip if we don't see you before then.
I'll be on the Discord.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll see you before then. But in terms of the visual side of things, and yeah, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. We'll speak offline anyway. But yeah, I'll end it here, guys. Thanks everyone, and we'll speak to you all very, very soon. See ya.
Bye.
Take care.